Okay. So shout out to y'all who are watching the video of this, and shout out to each and every one of you guys who are watching this stream right now. We are going to get started with the Kingdom Hearts Union Cross newest update. It's called Confrontation. Based on the thumbnail, you probably already have some idea of what's going to happen. They always release little short previews of the update, like the day or before or a couple days before, and this time was no different. You know, they give you that just in case a YouTuber wants to react to it and needs some thumbnail, bait. All right, Darth Elias, I appreciate you. Your music are at a good volume. Let's do this. Kingdom Hearts Union Cross Confrontation. Master, have you ever spoken with the darkness? I have. What's it like? Well, it's not much of a conversationalist. Isn't great at communicating either. It doesn't think like your average Joe. Sounds just like you, Master. What? See? That's what I mean. Wow, Luciu. Don't you have any respect for your superiors? Maybe you're the one who's got more in common with the darkness. But can it, understand words? Of course it can. After all, it's been watching us this whole time. What? You mean like right now? Could be. I'm just kidding. It's not watching right now. It wouldn't come near people like us so easily. Please don't scare me like that. Oh, come on. It was a joke. But those exceptional kids, what are they called? Dandelions? What if the darkness showed up right in front of them? Would they be okay? They're the important cornerstone for the world's rebirth, aren't they? If they were led astray by darkness, then... Honestly, things would be dicey if they wound up confronting the darkness. Confronting the darkness. It's a tough customer in conversation and in battle. But its true strength lies in mental warfare. I'd go as far to say, oh my goodness, there's no one better. Oh, he's so in battle. Not only, of course, I bet you, when he says they excel in mental warfare, if anything, they try to avoid actual combat as much as possible. If anything, they're good at the mind games and manipulation, as we've already seen them do, in a way, honestly, with Maleficent and, with the Union leaders, with deceiving Ventus and kind of using Ventus as a pawn, as a means to be, as a way out, I guess, a means to, incite Laurium's anger, because especially if darkness didn't show up at the end, I don't know why darkness really did. I'm hoping we find out in this update, but if darkness didn't show up, what if he just kept having Laurium be pushed? If he kept having Laurium pushed, he could literally just have pushed Laurium to kill Ventus. I don't know. Okay. But if he could have literally just got Laurium to push Ventus, he could have gotten Laurium to be pushed far enough to kill Ventus, but he still showed himself in the end. So I'm not too sure why that would really be, but let's continue. And that means they're in danger. Darkness hates those who are pure of heart, and that's exactly why those kids were chosen. There may be danger, but they're just the kind of people that darkness is weakest against. It can't comprehend a person's heart or their thoughts, so even if it knows what they're trying to achieve, it won't be able to understand why they're doing it. Wait, what? It can't comprehend a person's heart or their thoughts, so even if it knows what they're trying to achieve, it won't be able to understand why they're doing it, because honestly that doesn't really matter. It only knows what people hate. But it's a double-edged sword, since it means the darkness's actions, oh my goodness, Darkness's actions don't make any sense to us either. That's why we are simply incompatible as beings. What do you think the darkness wants to do? Who knows? We can't understand each other, so I just haven't a clue. Okay, we're good again. I apologize. There's a minor interruption. You say something like that. So now I gotta edit. Now I gotta edit this video. Um. So we can't understand each other. So I just haven't a clue. Okay, yeah, this is where things left off again. Who'd have thought the darkness's true form would look like some kid's drawing? True form. I suppose we are quite incorporeal right now. We're usually invisible, though. Well then, think of this voice and this color as a special service. What's your goal here? Goal? Don't have one. We're just trying to get to know you. What? You find it hard to understand us. We are completely different kinds of beings. We don't think like you do, or share the same thoughts as you. There's nothing we're trying to achieve. Then why? Why did you kill my sister? Because he wanted to. That's not true. Ven didn't even know Strelitzia. He had no reason to want her gone. Ooh, what if it just kind of hit? What if it wasn't necessarily that he wanted Strelitzia gone? He didn't necessarily want Strelitzia gone. He just needed the easiest target to be gone. What if he just wanted the easiest target gone? Because in a way, as strange as it seems, I don't think Darkness is lying here. Honestly, at some point, at this point, I honestly don't think he has a reason to lie. What would that be? He knows what they're trying to do, but he doesn't understand why they're doing it. If he understood why they were trying to do what they were trying to do, he would be able to use that to his advantage. And using that to his advantage, he could have just lied. But I don't feel he's lying here. What would he gain from lying? I mean, doubt has already been incited. If he really wanted to, he literally could have just not shown up. Because at the end of the day, if he's trying to say, oh, Ven wanted to kill her anyway, it wasn't just me, and then dipping, then at the end of the day, they're still left with seeds of doubt about Ven anyway. But if he just never showed up, then those seeds of doubt about Ven would have still been there anyway. So what's the point? Why did he come out and confess to killing Strelitzia? What's the point? He gets the same outcome regardless, which is why I'm saying I don't think he's necessarily lying here, and there's more to it. If y'all enjoying this, hit the like button, because I'm kind of on my Inspector Gadget right here, bro. I'm kind of on my Sherlock Holmes right now. But true, he didn't know her. But there was something he wanted. power, so we put it in his hands. The power of a union leader. Yeah, he wanted the job. He wanted the job. How did he know he wasn't already chosen? Probably because someone like him probably wouldn't be chosen anyway. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case. Finn would never want that. But he got it, didn't he? Even if Vid did want power, he wouldn't achieve dominance by becoming a union leader. Oh, that was Ephemer. Ephemer, what happened to your Ephemer, what happened to your voice, bro? That doesn't matter to us. Doesn't matter. So there was no reason Strelitzia had to be sacrificed? None at all. Don't mess with me! Laurium! Mollywopped. Here comes the thumbnail. There are a few things I'd like to ask. Go ahead. First, why did you choose Ven? Because it had already been decided. What was? That he'd be the one to harbor darkness. Are you saying that it was set in stone, that Ven was meant to be a vessel for darkness? Exactly. The fated child written in the book of prophecies. You read the book? Yes, not that it matters. How then? We watched as it was being written. You were there when the book was written? Yes. Do you and the Master have history? We're old friends. Friends? You mean the Master was working with the darkness? We don't need to work with people like you. Next question. You've been biding your time. Why choose to appear now? But we weren't. We've been very busy. You just didn't notice. It's less that we appeared and more that you finally became aware of us. Last question. You keep saying we. What do you mean by that? There's more of us than there is light. I see. Then one more thing. Are you the only one in this room right now? I am. Okay. Understood. Huh? He's brought out the Master Defender, boys. Looks like one of my old theories from like right after KH3 came out. Looks like that theory ended up being right. I mean, you can if you read the secret reports of Kingdom Hearts 3, then it was there. It clearly showed a connection between Brain and and Ericus. There's a common misconception between this because a lot of people are always saying Brain is Ericus's granddad. I don't think the time gap between the games would allow that to be possible, but he can easily be his ancestor. I mean, that's kind of how things work. If this Keyblade was passed down to, say, his son and then the next son, etc., then that could easily end up being a case. Because my original theory, we're probably going to watch it after this video, but I had a theory about the creation of Scala. Some of you guys that are more long-term viewers may remember that theory. It was a theory about how Scala at Caelum was created on top of Daybreak Town. And it has to do with, like, essentially takes place after the event of Union Cross. And depending on who ends up living and who ends up not going away, I'm assuming basically not everybody ended up making it through to the future in the arc. People that we know did, obviously, is Elrena, Laurium, Ventus, Skuld, etc. They all made it to the actual future. But what I believe happened to Brain and Ephemer is I believe they ended up just traveling to the other realm and getting back to Daybreak Town. But in the end, I believe Daybreak Town is probably not the same place we are used to seeing it anymore, which is why they ended up building a new hub for Keyblade wielders, which they can essentially bring all the original Dandelions to as well, because basically all the Keyblade wielders on the original timeline or world line is gone now. So we can still have Keyblade wielders, the Keyblade wielders who are there in Scala at Caelum. It would make sense if they descended from the Dandelions. So when this world, as we've already seen in Union Cross, is being destroyed, there is no Keyblade war going to happen in this world line. But this world line is already being destroyed. So they already know their stay in this world line is not, it's only temporary. It's not going to be permanent, and they will have to go back at some point, which we know ends up being the case. So in the end, I believe that Ephemer and Brain ended up going back to Daybreak Town and building, essentially founding Scala at Caelum, or Scala at Caelum, I guess is the new canon pronunciation. But Scala at Caelum was created by these two. As we know, based off the secret reports of Kingdom Hearts 3, Ericus is a blue blood. He's a direct descendant of those originally who lived in Scala at Caelum, because we know, Xehanort and Ericus originally lived in Scala at Caelum. We've seen them there in Dark Road, but he's a descendant from the people who founded it. So that would just make sense. So if we know that it's likely that these two, the only people who have enough influence to create a new Keyblade society, would be the Union leaders when they got back. The foretellers are essentially gone now. So the only people who would really have that kind of authority to do something like that would be Brain and Ephemer, who the only people who didn't make it back to, end up making it to the future. So that's the only thing that makes sense, at least to me. But we're not done yet. Let's keep going. Ephemer, Scold. This is the ultimate enemy. Let's give it our all. That's cool. Imagine we got to play that. I'm worried about these kids. The Book of Prophecies contains future eras to come. They'll be alright. That sounds sketchy. I mean, it does record a huge expanse of time, so I haven't looked at all the fine details like what happens to who. Didn't you write it though? But we entrusted the future to these children. They're important, right? You sound like a mother hen. Tell you what. Since part of your mission is to observe, it's okay if you watch over them, but meddling is strictly off limits, you hear? Okay. That's it. That is it. That was the complete update. Whew. Hey yo, hit the like button if y'all enjoyed that, because that was actually pretty great. Okay. Honestly, I feel like everything that I learned from that is something I had already guessed. I mean, I already guessed that the Master of Masters and Darkness had some kind of connections. You guys have heard me say it in videos before. Two of the most ominous beings in the entirety of Kingdom Hearts, coexisting as similar beings end up making sense in a way. As much differences as they claim to have, they're probably more similar than they initially think, and the types of being that they are. They're very similar beings and try to do similar things, but at the end of the day, they're polar opposites. So it's like, that just makes the most sense, and this update has honestly confirmed that for me. That was one of the better Unicross updates in a while. Lucio appearing in the next chapter. I don't know if Lucio will appear because he's just supposed to watch them. I mean, he may appear just to watch, but he won't actually do anything. I don't know. It will depend on if the rest of his roles will allow him to do it. So that's the only thing that makes sense. So Master Masters would want Luciu to watch the Dandy team so he can add to their fate to the Book of Prophecies. For Darkness already knowing who they are. The thing is, though, because they don't use specific names, you have to remember they don't actually know who's there. The master believes he knows which, people are there and who has what, because he was the one who assigned Ava all of those details. But in the end, it's not the case. In the end, it's not the case because Ava manipulated who got the Book of Prophecies, and Darkness manipulated who ended up becoming a Union leader. So, what if the Master of Masters is like Ven? I'm not sure how likely it is, but what if Ven, Darkness, what if like Ven, Darkness is Master of Masters, Darkness split from his body, who they originally were, since we both saw the Book of Prophecy. That was my initial theory. I guess well, there goes my video. I should have made that video first, but I wanted to get the collab out. But yeah, I was already in the works on the video saying I've said this in streams already. I literally could have just taken the clip from the stream, but I originally on stream I had theorized that what if the possible. I talked with Prodigy about it too. Actually, I asked him specifically, what do you think about the odds that the Master of Masters is very much like Ven, and he had his darkness extracted so he could become a pure being of light. And what reinforces that is his, fear of darkness, why he doesn't take off his cloak like he says in Remine. And in the end, that being was also sentient just as Ventus was, and that being just simply became known as darkness. In the end, he said, Prodigy said he didn't know what to say, but I thought it was pretty solid. I mean, the thing is, even though we want to say this, there's still technically no evidence that says that specifically, because they say old friends. They can make what I think be the case, but they can also just say, he's just a really bad guy. They could literally just do that. But yes, this definitely does give credibility to that theory of Moose Wayne. It definitely does. Definitely does. Don't understand Cage lore, and I understand it at the same time. The thing is, the thing about Kingdom Hearts lore, the important thing is not to understand every specific detail. It's to be capable of looking for each detail, even if you don't particularly understand it, even if you can't make a solid theory with a ton of evidence behind it. The capability of looking for the lore and being able to read between the lines, even if you don't understand what it means, is, I feel, the point of the lore in Kingdom Hearts. I think darkness was born at the beginning of time, and there is now a way to feel it because it needs to be a balance between dark and light. I don't necessarily believe that to be the case. I don't feel there's enough evidence to really support him being made that long ago. If anything, his implications with him having close ties with the Master of Masters back then makes me more believe that he comes from whenever the Master of Masters comes from. What are your thoughts about Ven apparently being made to be a vessel for darkness? I completely believe it. In the end, that's just another similarity he shares with Sora. Sora was also trying to be, they also tried to make Sora a vessel for darkness, not darkness with a capital D, but darkness as, darkness, especially in Dream Drop Distance. I mean, he tried to make a vessel for Xehanort. So, but the thing is, Flygon, you don't need to be darkness to be able to do those things. Again, like, they try to tell you, the series tells you that light is all sunshine and rainbows, but at the end of the day, succumbing to light can still have its negatives. Like, again, Ericus was so blinded by light, 13 reference, he was so blinded by light that he attempted to kill someone who was like a son to him. People seem to forget that specific notion. Like, again, you can tell he's not a being of darkness whatsoever, because at the end of the day too, when you see him fight, he just oozes light, and he is clearly, a warrior of light. But that's the thing again, though. It doesn't matter if, you're a being of light or being of darkness. You're both equally capable of doing wrong. He didn't have malice and deceit. That I don't think I don't think every dark being has that either. I don't think you necessarily need to be a master of all things evil to be a being of darkness, though. I don't think that necessarily applies. Like, I don't necessarily call Ventus a master of malice and deceit either. He just kind of be like, yeah, let's kill you. Let's fight. You're gonna die today. He's always seemed like that kind of guy to me. So in the end, I feel that point doesn't really stand fully when we're referring to this. But that's just my thoughts.